briefly and without like full context and detail in those classified hearings, because we know our views are super restricted on these channels to talk about this stuff, um, and that the mainstream won't even touch it. They ridicule it, and it's just crazy what's going on out
And
there.
so
If
I
especially
have
have
to
you been
give
on?
one more aspect of it, and it all ties into the Tic Tac experiences, that would have been their trial run of testing that technology against the Navy, against the most advanced official US warfighting without them knowing. And that why did such people as the radar operation Kevin Day experience these telepathic things saying it was aliens? Clearly misdirection of that bone or skull technology, voice to skull technology, or whatever, on it, so that it's like, oh, it's all aliens. It's not the US
Yep.
testing it out. That's 10 years before the MH370. And what all ties it all together is Lou Elizondo, who declassified the Tic Tac videos the day before he retired. Lou. Why has Lou never ever talked about the Tic Tac videos, even though they're his actual, real, declassified technology? Oh, but he presents three fake, clearly debunked UFO cases and never ever refers back to the Tic Tacs. Why is that?
And you know, I briefly mentioned on the stream with what I did with the Who's Lou stream, where we got into like some of the holes that weren't where he was unable to fill when he really dug into Lou's background. He couldn't figure out what Lou did from 1997 to 2001. So for 4 years
Right,
leading up to
right.
9/11,
So
he's like, this guy went like MIA, and we don't know where he went or what he did. And
And
then
so
he's
that's before the Tic Tacs. If he was part of developing that technology, and for those saying that the airplanes had holographic projection aspects, that's one thing that could tie all together, right? Potentially.
all right. Well, I'm gonna give a call-in link because I do want to. I do like to open this up, and but again, the people asking for it, I don't know if we should really trust them. So
Show yourself on camera before
yeah,
we allow
so
you up,
I'm gonna
because,
edit.
yeah, can't have it sabotaged.
I can't have this sabotaged. So I tell you what, you have to follow me on Twitter and message me, and I'll send you the link. Okay, that way I know you're a real person. If you don't have a Twitter account or X account, then you can't participate.
Says he will show his face, absolutely, or her face,
And
absolutely.
then if you show, so go to at Hover Brothers. That's my burner X account, I guess. It wasn't my burner. It's not my burner account. It was my Hover Brothers account that I created for the Hover Brothers project back in the day, and I still
It's your backup account because they
my
freaking
backup
screwed
because
you. Yeah.
they keep screwing me. They keep deleting me off X, and I'm super censored on there. So this was my backup account because it represents the Hubbard brothers and not necessarily alien scientists. And I don't post anything to do with alien scientists on it, so that way it can keep anonymous. So it doesn't get deleted because I'm so. Elon does not like us talking about this technology apparently because he saw. Have you seen how big SpaceX has expanded? They opened a
No.
facility in Texas, they opened a facility in Florida, and they like the facility that they had started with in 2019 with the Falcon program is like now 5 times like 5 times the size it was with this huge.
So Elon just went into Doge and gave himself like the NASA contract, basically.
I guess. Well, dude, he has way more. They can produce like a rocket a day. They can produce a new rocket every single day, man. They're like really like. I mean, I just don't understand how
Awesome.
they could do that with it. Where is the supply of the either I just don't understand the raw materials and the supply of what it's costing to build this project and stuff. And
Yeah, because literally they had to outsource from Russia before Elon came around, right? Like literally the US was still having to like use Soyuz rocket boosters.
Yeah, man, they've really taken over the game because they can just do it so much cheaper and so much more efficiently and better than NASA. Um, they've really taken over. So I guess yeah, the NASA's lost the contract just out of sheer incompetence and wastefulness, and I think that's a lot to do with some secret space programs hidden within NASA itself, and that it's essentially been a cover-up agency for um, the UFO file, alongside a lot of other organizations that were used as cover up organizations of the real UFO file and research that been done into all that stuff. But yeah, I think this laser cross stuff is great because this gets into Q division, and Q division of Bell Labs is still classified. The work that was done at there, and that was the first lasers that were created. I mean, they created these super high powered lasers, the first ones. Once lasers were invented, they were like, all right, let's build some real serious ones. And then the first thing they did once they built two real serious lasers was cross the beams, like Ghostbusters, right?
Of
Um,
course, right?
and all that work's still classified because it's again, this is Project Bluebeam's origins, and they don't want you to find the deep state UFO people connected to all the super secret programs that get scooped up by this X Protect group that I like, that DJ Dark Journalist calls them the X Protect group. um, I don't think that they call themselves that, but yeah, digging into all these connections and how this stuff really operates behind the scenes is super interesting. And then again, how some of these players have connected back to 9/11 is surprising to learn now that Kerik is dead, and finding all these connections between Cash Patel and Bernard Kerik. It's like, did Cash Patel not know he's hanging out with this scum? Like, or is he just like, is he totally compromised? Like,
It's just the other side of the coin, right? Like,
because so many of these people they just post. We learn the Morse. Oh, patriot. He calls him. Let me see. What does he call him? A patriot and a warrior and a patriot. Yeah, see, a warrior and a patriot, and then you got all these people calling him a patriot and all this, saying all these great things about this guy's a convicted felon. Why is the FBI praising a convicted felon who's
why
like,
is the FBI praising a convicted felon? I think because it's like everyone there should be a convicted felon.
the guy who's telling us that Epstein killed himself, definitely killed himself now, right? Nobody believes that. 90%, 91%. Like, if you don't believe that, you're in the 91st percentile. Okay. Today we mourn the loss of Bernard Kerik, a warrior, a patriot. Dude, this guy was the most self-egregious, like, did not give a fuck about people, did not give a fuck about anyone, dude. Sorry for my language. I apologize. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. But again, this guy was not a patriot. All these fake accounts calling themselves patriots, praising this man. You're all fake. There's a lot of people here that got the right idea that no, and they're all real people that are political activists with real followings, talking about this guy was not showing real courage on fucking 9/11. Even Zaid, do you not know? Do you not know what this guy has done? This guy did not serve honorably. He's the reason that 9/11 got covered up. Like, as police commissioner,
True patriot, right?
patriot. Yeah, I mean, for the deep state, He had no courage on 9/11. He showed cowardice because he friggin' went along with the deep state plan and friggin' didn't investigate and had to and helped Giuliani destroy evidence on his on both their watch. They're the ones that watched over the whole friggin' parasitic, destruction of evidence at the World Trade Center and the cleanup. And how they sectioned it off and wouldn't allow the media in and take any pictures. They didn't want all the video of the real scene. Said, it's 2025. If you're not a conspiracy theorist by now, then you're just an idiot. And why do you think their treatment was so different? Yeah, that's nothing to do with it. The Bob Lazar.
Bob played a role. Bob played a role.
Bob played a role, and he had to be treated that way because of the role that he played.
Exactly. And he didn't care. He was pimping literally pimping hoes the whole way along, right? Like,
Yeah, well, man, he running the brothel operation there with the Crystal Cove and the Honeysuckle Ranch, right? There were two brothels, the Crystal Cove and the Honeysuckle Ranch. Get it, don't get it twisted. And let's I don't want to get into the whole Bob Lazar mess. It's just a waste of time. And
I'm just gonna call out that Lou Elizondo is literally the director of Operation Bluebeam, and that is why he declassified the Tic Tac videos that were actually an American test program claiming that they were aliens, and that is why he's involved in all the different aspects of the cover-ups.
Bingo. You I think you hit the nail on the head with all that, and he's key to unraveling all that stuff, and the tech that was and some people believe this tech was used on 9/11 as well. I don't know.
It's given it more of a chance of being a possibility, but it's like Thermite explains it all as it is.
Thermite explains, what the official story can explain better than the official story, which is that fire did it. So thermite's more concentrated, thermal expansion on just the beams and not the concrete slabs attached, according to NIST model. The best way to do that is to apply thermite to the beams, and problem solved. So, but Lou Elizondo, Lou with the barbecue, he said it was true. Said he wouldn't lie. And I just I have a little song for this guy. I need a female vocalist who can sing like Blondie.
AI, brother, AI. Just put in the
AI
voice
will
you
do it.
wanted to imitate, and you got it.
All right, because I'm working on the words to this song, and it's about Lou, and we could do it with AI, but I got I got these words started, right? So let's do the all right, we're gonna do this.
I'm gonna hide and mute myself and let this magic happen.
See. I want to see how. Wait, hold on a second. I gotta get this up on the right screen. All right, maybe you can just hear it. I'll just play it with Lou on the screen. It'll be better. But I want the pictures. I want the pictures to go along with it because but I heard this song on the radio and I was like, oh, this would be a good one to redo, with some lyrics about Lou. And it started working out. So I just went with it.
Lou, we thinking about you and Project Blue Beam.
All right, you ready? Once there was a guy who said he wouldn't lie about the UFO files that the government hides. Thought he was the real thing, but I was so blind. Soon found out I was losing my mind. All right, so yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, but
it was a little. It's
a little faded out, but
it was, but what I heard was very good.
yeah, so we'll work on that and get like a female voice to do it too, and it'll be fun. That's Blondie's Heart of Glass karaoke version. So, um, but anyways, yeah, that would be fun to do. Another song about Lou, because we need more like stuff like that to helps the algorithm and helps people expose these guys and for what they are, because people have no idea how deep the connections go. And Kevin Ryan's research is really great. I wish he would dig into Lou and find out what he was, because if anyone can find out what Lou was doing before 9/11 and on 9/11, it would be Kevin Ryan. Kevin Ryan has just done incredible work into all these CIA, the network of CIA operatives that you know killed Kennedy for one, with the help of the the UFO file people like D. Harold Byrd and all those guys, right? And all their predecessors and who they handed down their companies to, and they handed down their companies to, and they handed down their companies to, and the people that were really part of the big families that were involved, um, and what their companies did, and the companies that they came out with and started. There's a lot of interplay with these Saudi connections to 9/11 and where those Saudi connections came from and who set those up and started those back in the back in the 70s and stuff with the Safari Club and Jim Bath, the liaison between the Bush family and the Bin Laden family, going way back. But yeah, Bernard Kerik is definitely got some interesting history too. And the fact is that I think he was more involved than Giuliani was in the whole 9/11 scene. If you really dig into it, Kerik was, um, you look into Rudy Giuliani and his whole. He had made some bad decisions about the radios. Got cheaper radios for the whole fire department so that they couldn't hear in certain areas. They just weren't up to code and spec, and a lot of the firefighters were pissed at him about that, blamed him for a lot of the deaths that took part in the World Trade Center because of that. But that was just the tip of the iceberg with some of these mob connections, because there's no way that he could have played along with all this and destroyed that much evidence without some.
Well, he was censored out of Tower 7 and like the renovations for months ahead of time. And like how
He
could he
built
not
the
have known?
emergency. He built the emergency management office, and then he didn't use it on
Exactly.
9/11. They were supposed to all
Exactly.
go to that office and use that on 9/11, and none of them went there. They went around They went around and talked to the media around Ground Zero. They just walked around the streets and talked to the media. Like,
Right?
dude,
Like they all should have technically died in that building if it had naturally collapsed from it, because that's
how do
where their
they know
base was out of.
there's not terrorists running around, doing whatever? How do they know how do they know we're under attack? I mean, we're under a surprise
Right?
attack.
How did they all break procedure while being under the state of attack? Essentially, is what it is. They were all breaking procedure while directly being under attack.
I think it's time for a hunting party, and that's is certainly why I'm dressed up in my hunting gear. Deep state hunting party seems in order because Cash Patel and the damn FBI are no longer in charge of this country, and in charge of they are part of the criminality. They're rubbing elbows, taking pictures and photo ops with the damn deep state criminals. And this is you look into this, right? Kerik and Cash Patel. Why is Cash Patel, the FBI, the head of the FBI, praising a convicted felon who literally helped cover up 9/11? I mean, Bernard is not, Lou Elizondo, but I would be curious to know what Lou was doing during those years, man, leading up to 9/11 and that.
How does Lou not even know what he was doing, right? Like,
I'd like to ask him what he was doing on 9/11. Man, none of the people who interviewed Lou asked him these questions. It was not like something that came up. We're talking about UFOs. You're not just going to bring up 9/11 randomly. It just never happened. And that would have totally happened if he came on my show. It would have asked him all these, awkward and bizarre questions that he would just never get asked. And he'd be like, fuck.
shook. He'd be shook. He would not know what to say. Like, you could even see in the video that your wife filmed when you just approached. Like, he's like, "Hey, Jeremy." Like, "Oh God, what are you gonna ask?"
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't do it. I should have. Should have roasted him with some really hard. But anyways, he roasted himself at that conference with the Elizondo crop circle UFO fucking. I mean, that was just
Right? And well,
you
why is he doing that and never bringing up the Tic Tac videos that he himself declassified on his
not recovering from this because the Tic Tac videos were plasma induced technology. It's the easiest thing other than an orb is an extended orb. It's the next easiest object to project into space with that technology, and he's fucking part of the group.
Exactly.
Boom. He's part of it. Wants to get amnesty because they've been fucking with people. They tested it out on a bunch of people at Skinwalker Ranch. They want to get amnesty because of all the people they've tested it out on and done this on in real time. And that's not even the half of the dangerous technologies that they can do with the when they cross 2 microwave beams on your skull.
Right? And then putting forward all of this fake stuff that's like, it's aliens, it's all these fake aliens, for when Blue Beam gets rolled out.
Yeah, they're hyping up the Blue Beam stuff so that when Blue Beam gets rolled out, people will be like, "Oh my God." Like literally these videos were terrible when they were shown. They show nothing. And I was interviewing all the experts who were expert on the technologies and stuff and interviewing them just to get their honest reactions and finding completely different, reactions than what Elizondo was claiming in all these media interviews and other people were claiming about the Tic Tac and the credibility of these videos and how this is the best thing that launched UFOs into the scene. This was
Like,
really
Pentagon officially recognizing the technology as real. And it's like, how come Lou, as the official UFO spokesperson, never gets, in all of his softball interviews, asked about the Tic Tac videos that he himself declassified? Just saying.
Dude, I can't believe the people that pass themselves off as experts and go in front of these damn hearings and stuff and how how a guy can even how his fans haven't completely rejected him after
They're
that.
expert state actors, right? Expert state
The state props them up. They definitely have like a whole platform that props them up. Like nobody has that kind of you know nobody has that kind of. My followers don't do that shit for me, dude. Like you guys have been with me for
Well,
years.
they literally got bought armies. It's not even real people. It's
Yeah,
algorithms.
it is. A lot of it is astroturfed. But they can't block the real deal even with the astroturfing, and they can fuck with my audio and turn a few people off, but they'll never really completely shut us down, and they haven't. And I think
One buddy did say that he posted on Twitter asking for ASDF asking for that link, and that he posted on Twitter, I guess.
all right. Let me see. Message me on.
And yes, we are live. This is live, not pre-recorded.
Okay, hold up. How do I find out who's just friended me? Oh, I should have had it set up so that anyone can message me. Let me just set up so anyone can message me. Settings. Everyone. Boom. All right, now everyone can message me. Anyways, yeah, man. I don't see this guy's message.
You'll probably have to write it again now that you just made it possible to be openly messaged.
Yeah, at Hubbard Brothers link, you can message me on there. And sorry I wasn't paying attention. I should just post it in the chat, but
You can post it in the chat, and as long as people show their faces first.
yeah, you got to show your face, and you got to like prove who you are. You're a real person, and type in like what kind of questions you're going to ask and what you want to talk about, like in the private chat.
Because we have been mass targeted many times with
Yep.
porn robbers trying to take down the
They know
streams.
exactly. They take it down. That's how they take it down every single time. They're like, oh, these guys are talking about shit that we don't want them talking about. Linking too many connections and really blowing up the spot on a whole bunch of top secret operations that are supposed to be super secret. And we got guys like Elizondo out here running cover for in the mainstream media that we've been trying to cover up. And literally the guy's been showing off this freaking plasma technology. Fucking TD Barnes, Area 51 projects manager for like 25 years and head of the Roadrunner Society, head of all the people that were former Area 51 employees. I'm sure he asked everybody in his Area 51 group and buddies about what they thought about this stuff after his conversation with me. He loved our conversation, man. He was smiling ear to ear. Everything I asked him, he's like, you must have watched every single interview I've ever done in my whole entire life, and because I was just on top of everything, like, and people wouldn't get that if they just watched that interview and didn't like know the whole background, but of TD Barnes and stuff. But man, TD Barnes says that this was plasma projection technology, and they've been fronting it around as UFOs and aliens and stuff. All right, so I got a new Squirrel Order backstage. He just joined. What is going on, man? He's got a video camera going. He's got a picture going. He's not naked.
Wait, okay, looks legit.
It's legit so far, I think.
Can you stand up first to show you have pants on? Then we can allow you to be on. There we go. You passed the stand-up test. We're good.
Right.
We're good.
Cool. No anchor man. No fucking.
Hey, don't you remember me? I called in once before as New Squirrel Order. You loved my name?
Yes, you did actually. I do remember.
So, I want to talk about 9/11 technologies. I called in once before. I brought up some things about 9/11 and alien stuff. Since you're doing a 9/11 show, I want to bring up the things that I was so excited to. No, I won't show anything. I was too excited to remember. So, one thing that I noticed on the day of 9/11, I don't think I brought this up last time. On the day of 9/11, I remember thinking that morning, I wonder if the buildings are going to come down. And now all these years later, I thought to myself, what would have made me think that? There was no logical reason for that. It's preposterous that they came down. And yet most everybody at the time sort of took it in stride. It was almost boring, actually, in a way. And like for the second, I was a fifth grader at the time, but I was thinking, man, I hope the other one comes down. It's too depressing seeing one twin tower. Not even thinking that anybody would die in the attack, thinking that everybody would have evacuated the second one by the time after they saw the first one come down. And so I thought, but how did they do that? How did they get me to think that? Are the towers going to come down? There must have been subliminal messages. Was it the end of Fight Club? Was it things like, the Phillips commercial, or all these, there's the Simpsons one. There's all these pictures of 9/11 suggestive imagery from before 9/11. But then I thought, no, they would have wanted to do it so that everybody watching that morning would be hit with the subliminal. So I thought, it would have been CNN that I was watching that morning. So I went to watch CNN's footage. I checked on their clip with the second plane hitting. So it was after the attack started, before the towers came down. And having listened to Alex Jones over the years, he often used to talk about the Pentagon creating the flicker rate of the television and how they would put subliminals having to do with the chyrons and with the TVs behind you, so that your brain goes into subconscious mode because there's too many feeds coming in for your conscious mind to take in all through the conscious mind. And lo and behold, in the chyron of 9/11, the lower third, or it's the breaking news where they usually have like a swirling mist and a logo, on the lower left-hand corner of CNN's feed, from the moment that they first reported the first plane hit to the moment that the second tower hit came down, because remember, the second tower hit came down first, they were showing in the bottom left-hand corner a little GIF image, an animated image of the towers being demolished. So 1,000 times, or thousands, hundreds and hundreds of times, they were showing the towers being blown up from the moment they first reported the
Really?
every 9 seconds. They were showing the towers timed to a little beam of light that would go across above breaking news when it as soon as it reached the right side of the screen, back over on the left side of the screen, bottom left-hand corner.
You have a link. You have a link for that video. You can share it. So I can play it while you're playing it. I don't understand. I'm trying to get what the cold context is and the.
I do.
CNN was showing the towers collapsing well before the second plane even hit, showing that they knew that they were going to collapse from the get-go, right?
Not just that they knew, but what it would look like. It's filmed as if it's the animation is sort of like the 30, as if you're watching where there are angles of it. They filmed it like this, of like the top 30 stories. In the chat, in the private chat, I just post a link to the video from my channel where I put together a little compilation exposing how it was.
Well, I want to keep this really about Bernard Kerik, and I don't want to just go down a lot of different 9/11 rabbit holes on tonight.
Okay.
But I will definitely look into.
I'll definitely check that out too.
Subliminals. I mean, the biggest subliminal for me was the X-Files 9/11 episode. You guys seen that, right?
Yes.
And that these aren't just subliminals. These are all documented cases of pre-knowledge of the events, right? Like in a court, that's what this would come out as, is like they had prior knowledge and were broadcasting it.
But what I'm saying is that they were getting everybody prepared that morning by priming.
Of course, you're not wrong on that, but I'm just saying from a court legal perspective what the implications of this are.
But this is CNN doing it on the morning during the broadcast. It's the best court evidence you could ask for of that.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. I know that these guys, if we went after Bernard's dead, not Giuliani's still alive. I don't think Giuliani knows as much as some of the other guys. Like Paul Bremer definitely knows a ton of stuff because he was he was working for Marshall McLennan in the World Trade Center, right in the 93rd floor where the plane hit, and he missed work on the morning of 9/11 and went to on MSNBC and was the first person to point the finger at Osama bin Laden and Iraq and Iran. He said all of them were suspects and who could have been responsible. And Paul Bremer goes back.
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black.
Well, Paul Bremer goes back to the Nixon and administration, the Ford administration, right? With staffers like Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, and Donald Rumsfeld's dead now, but Dick Cheney's still alive, and Dick Cheney's probably a lot of people say he's like the head of the UFO file. He's head of everything file now because he's just like he was there for the Kennedy assassination cover up under Ford, and he's just been going along with it, from the get go. And Dick Cheney's definitely one of those people. And then Paul Bremer, and then Rod, what's his name? This guy, right? Rod Blagojevich, and he goes way back to as the governor of Illinois, but he was fresh out of college in some of these administrations. I think he's the guy. I've been trying to identify the guy from those old photos of Bremer, Rumsfeld, and Cheney, all on Air Force One, and I think it's Rod in the background with them.
Whatever happened to Wolfowitz? He sort of disappeared in the Bush administration, and he had that clip from West Point or whatever from right before 9/11, warning them about to get ready for Pearl Harbor type events.
Yeah, he's totally laying low. Bremer's up in New Hampshire. He's retired. He's a ski instructor at Okemo Mountain now, for like when political people or um, ambassador type people go for ski lessons and come to the U.S. They set him up with Bremer, because he's always been like a CIA, ambassador kind of negotiator type person. Bremer was head of this board at Harvard that was anti-counterterrorism board at Harvard University, leading up to 9/11. Worked in the World Trade Centers, and then became the point man in Iraq after 9/11. So I mean, he's just like right in the hornet's nest of people that should be investigated and subpoenaed, arrested, indeed, interrogated. And then Bremer, of course, is connected with this whole apparatus with Komatsu Dresser and the mining division, which developed a lot of the nanothermite technology with SAIC and stuff, and yeah, so these guys are all tied into that core group of the people deeply responsible for those attacks on Americans, and then how Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was blamed for these attacks and then tortured by Lou Elizondo personally, and the torture that he describes was that his son had his testicles electrocuted in front of him until he confessed to doing 9/11 and planning 9/11 and his involvement in it,
and also to bombing buildings that didn't exist until after he was arrested.
Yeah. So they had him, basically just admitting to all kinds of crazy stuff, and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and he's the bad guy who did 9/11 and all this stuff according to their reports, and that we got another boogeyman, and then they tortured a lot of these people to the point where they couldn't even stand trial in defense of themselves, and then they had them so backed up with court dates and court hearings and different attorneys and everything else that a lot of them just never got fair trials, never got information.
And their confessions were all recorded under duress, so not even legally applicable.
Yeah, so they were not able to testify on their own behalf, any of them, and they were tortured to the point where they could no longer testify or really hold themselves up in court. They'd be just too nervous, destroyed. They destroy their nervous system with these weapons and stuff. So this was a test run for a lot of this crap that they were rolling out. They also on 9/11, there's just a lot of interesting stuff going on with the people in the World Trade Center and the security companies and the nanothermites and all that stuff. That's really where I think that there's a lot of the meat and potatoes in the 9/11 case, until someone can show me that SAIC built a weapon capable of dust-defying steel and can demonstrate that, and then we'll be millionaires because we can start our own demolition company, destroying buildings with disintegration weapons, right?
You can save a bunch of millions just using jet fuel.
Oh, and stealing all the gold underneath the buildings.
Yeah, so it's crazy, the amount of evidence that's come out about this, and that Bernard Kerik is getting this again. Pay attention. I want to pay attention to the people that are praising Bernard Kerik and calling him a patriot and a hero, and all these words that we're seeing. Pay close attention to all that, because those people are not on our side, or they're not legit. A lot of those people are bots or not legit accounts. You're going to see a lot of the bot army propping up this propaganda, pushing the official propaganda about Kerik now that he's dead. And I'm hopefully going to make the rounds. I've already, talked to a couple people about, I want to get on Tim Pool and freaking unload and talk about it.
Absolutely. It's time for deep state hunting. And that Bernard is dead. This Bernard is not, despite my accidental triggering of my
Bernard,
video.
Bad Bernard, okay?
I know you said you wanted to stick to this Bremer guy, but can I bring up one new thing along with my subliminal thing I already got?
Sure. I got the video right here.
You should play it. It's deep. But
Secret
the other thing I wanted to say was, I'm sure you're familiar with the people who say, "Oh, look at this. There's like a devil face in the second impact of the plane." You've seen that, where they say, "Oh, look, it looks like in the smoke and the flame, there's like a devil face." Anyways,
may I?
Pareidolia.
Yes, pareidolia.
Early AI manipulation.
Correct. I'm telling you. I was looking at it one day, and I was like, I know I can find new evidence for this. I just kept looking at the footage, so my investigation tactic was, I'm going to look at this like I don't know what a city is. I've never heard of a city. I'm not looking for the planes. I'm not looking for 9/11. Like, I'm just got to this planet. I'm just looking for what jumps out at me. It wasn't just one devil face. There's like a million devil faces and other things. If you just look at the smoke for what shapes jump out at you, there's over and over again horrifying faces. And that's part of something called the hell cell method of subliminal messaging. They used it in like the Kent cigarette advertising.
The potential holographic projections, if that technology was used. And
I don't know what's with
technology potentially.
It's just advanced. You can blow smoke rings when you smoke cigarettes. Or yes, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm just saying, I have no idea how they did that. But I know that it's not the most advanced thing in the world to make a shape come out of the smoke. You can, with fireworks, you can make, there's pyrotechnics. This is smoker techniques is not a word, but smoke art is. They use this, but I'm telling you, if you look at the smoke coming out of any of the HD footage,
and by doing that, it's just like it makes anyone like just talking about that aspect sound crazy. Like, oh yeah, sure, there's devil faces in it, sort of thing, right? And it's like easy
but it's
enough.
Not just one; it's a million. It's literally like hundreds of thousands, and it's not just devil faces. It's like phalluses, just like dicks and things, like things I don't want to say, but if just take a look at it. But there's probably the word sex in there. All the classic
Disney programming, Steve. Interesting.
And I can send you pictures of that too. And just from like one video, but anybody could find them. It's just nobody bothered to look, because it's like they're looking at buildings, they're looking at planes, they're looking at explosions, they're looking at towers coming down. They're not looking at smoke, because who looks for evidence of anything in smoke? It's almost like smoke and mirrors is literally the last thing you'd ever want to look for. It's like snake oil. It's like nobody would think to look there. Just like nobody would think they'd be. Actually, I remember that morning looking at the thing in the bottom left-hand corner on CNN and thinking, are they showing me the building's about to get blown up? And then correcting myself, thinking, no, it looks like a steaming cup of coffee. That's probably just something they do on the news, because it's the morning news or something. It looks like maybe a cup of coffee. I try to, and it's like, it's not, it's.
Is it there the day before or the other days? Because it's also like it's part of the screen in the background that's kind of like used as part of it.
Well, I mean, look at it. It's like don't you remember that the way
I don't
that it looks?
See it what you're talking about either, because I'm watching this and I'm like, yeah, it kind of looks like something coming down, but like.
To me, it looks like a specific angle almost that I've seen of that they filmed the towers come down. They did have a lot of angles where they would just show the top of the building collapsing. You'd only see the top 30 floors. It looks like that angle, but it also looks like other angles. You know how there's 2-in-1 optical illusions where it's a woman sitting at a mirror, but it's also a skull. It's also, there's like a mirrored angle of where they filmed the World Trade Center 7 collapse from. It's also a building coming down. You remember there was that angle that was off to the side, filmed from behind a building? It's that angle mirrored.
While that episode in March of 2001, while that episode of X-Files Lone Gunman was airing on TV about the plot to would fly remote control planes into the World Trade Center with this guidance technology, where they basically hijack the plane from the ground and can fly it right into the building. And then right as that was going on, Ace Elevator was doing a whole modernization in the Twin Towers, like redoing all the elevator systems and all the, like, had complete access, like just cut through the, like, I don't know, you probably don't even have to cut through anything. It's probably right from the elevator shaft. You have direct access to all the
to the main beams, exactly. The elevator shafts, the reinforcement of that structure, like in the engineering blueprints. It's all you need. And so there was one question: where did all the dust come from? The dust came from the nanothermite blowing out 110 stories of concrete that then turns into dust, as well as the glass turning into dust.
Yeah, welcome to the party, folks. So again, you have SAIC developing this advanced explosives technology that's really hard to trace. They've developed this technology now that's like basically a covert demolition technology for covert demolitions. Very hard to trace. All burns up all the evidence, and leaves very little residue to to trace with. And then, of course, this company, Securicom Stratosec, getting the contracts in the years before, but right around 97 when Elizondo goes missing, this whole time period from 97 to 2001 is key, because you have Ace Elevator moving in.
And then he was responsible for the torture of the supposed 9/11 hijackers at Guantanamo to get the confessions under duress. Like, he's literally tied into it.
Wonder if he ever lived in New York or operated out of New York, because they have to use a bunch of deep state people to kind of oversee a lot of this stuff, like people that are real in the inside that they can really trust. And Lou seems like one of those guys, like just his career and the stuff that he's done, and the fact that he's running these deep state counterintelligence operations on the public, telling everyone this is these are aliens, and then going in front of Congress and throwing nothing burgers on purpose to try to discredit the entire subject in the field. It's really Operation Mockingbird tactics, and a lot of that kind of stuff we've been calling out for all along on this channel going on. But the Carlyle Group, and the Carlyle Group, Frank Carlucci was the CIO of the Carlyle Group, and Frank Carlucci was also before he was the Secretary of State, and right, he was Donald Rumsfeld position. What Donald Rumsfeld did in the Bush administration, that was Frank Carlucci's position. So he understood that position real well. And Frank Carlucci was in that position during the time that all the continuity of government program group, that COG group, which we again, COG is the group that was connected to JFK as well. They had a COG station set up in the basement of the Dallas City Hall. And they had a whole COG operation room there with Jack Crichton and all those other guys set up to take over in case anything went wrong, in case the Russians or someone else got a hold of the plot and took out LBJ. They had a whole chain of command and government ready to jump in and take over in the event that both presidents both president and vice president get assassinated. They have a whole complicated network of what the government will take over in the event of all that stuff. They could splinter the government. They still have like underground government set up operations that will set up and run things for the country. It's the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it's the and a lot of the military, and these Joint Chiefs of Staff and all these guys would meet, like Donald Rumsfeld and all these other guys would meet up and have these meetings about where they'd plan disaster scenarios, stuff just like 9/11 happening, like what would be how would the government react, and what would be the,
Is that Operation Northwoods or something different?
No, Operation Northwoods was 61, right? That was after the Bay of Pigs, right during the Bay of Pigs and all this stuff. McNamara and all these other guys are writing operations, coming up with ideas they want to go to war with Cuba, so they come up with this plan that they're gonna hijack a plane,
the other false flags, right.
Well, they're gonna take a drone, fly it over Cuba and shoot it down, and then claim that it was a passenger plane full of students on the way to then that Cuba shot it down for because of this whole Cuban Missile Crisis and stuff that was going on. They found out, Cuba's, setting up nukes right off our coast. For Russia, they're working with the Russians. They got the Chinese Communist Party, doing a lot of propaganda inside of Cuba at the time. We were actually bugging the CIA office, and a CIA officer named David L. Christ got arrested in the process of bugging this, and he was like the top CIA bug guy. Like he had helped develop a lot of the bug technology, including a lot of the advanced receiver and bug technologies, which was way behind the Russian technology, by the way, of the time with the thing that they found in the seal. I don't know that device, which was completely wireless. They would beam microwaves at it and be able to pick up stuff from after by powering it remotely. They'd have to point a microwave gun at it to power it. And that was what the Russians were using in the seal. There you can look up the bug. The CIA found a bug in the seal of the embassy, and the Russian bug. Let me look that up so I can bring that up. But David L. Christ was our top bug guy, and he got captured in Cuba and was held there at the island of the Pines, where they rigged the whole entire prison with explosives for the 4 years that he was there, or the 2 years, I don't know, the couple, I think he was like there for 2 or 3 years or something. But the entire time he was there, the entire building that he was in, the entire prison that he was in, was rigged with explosives, and so that the army, the Cuban army, could blow it up should the CIA or anyone try to come in and liberate the prison and free the prisoners. The Cubans were ready to destroy the prisons. So and these guys tunneled underground in the prison and defused a lot of the bombs. They defused like the whole bomb system because he was like the top electronic guy for the CIA. Fucking, they didn't know who they had in their prison. If they did, he would have been in a fucking gulag.
So dope.
So dope. Yeah, so crazy story. But that whole thing about the bugs and stuff, what was the Russian
Operation Acoustic Kitty.
Yeah, the Acoustic Kitty stuff with it, that's like stupid, man. But
just asked about it in chat. That's the only reason I said.
The real one, the Thing, it's called the Thing listening device. And they couldn't figure, they had to like send it to a bunch of their labs to figure it out. Like how the hell does this thing actually work?
Rest in peace, Acoustic Kitty. It was run over immediately by a car in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a shame what happened to the Acoustic Kitty. Damn shame. But
hey, if you said you can't see it, a lot of people have seen it when I showed it to them. Do you want to see it? Okay, you took the video away, but I was going to see if maybe you want to play it and see if anybody in the chat can see what I'm talking about. I know I'm not retarded.
I do remember seeing the images, the screen captures of the certain skulls and like demon faces in the smoke back in the day. Yeah, I definitely recall that myself.
This is in the lower left-hand corner. Every 9 seconds, they're showing the buildings come down. But yeah, everybody, there's that famous one of the devil face. But I'm saying there wasn't just like, there's one guy in the chat, he said he saw a devil face. There was so many devil faces, and it's part of this advertising method that Lorillard developed. There was a leaked advertising training manual where they put subliminals of like spiders airbrushed into people's legs, and with like where the sun in the background is obscured by a weed, but it's actually, if you look carefully, it's setting into the lake. It was implied to be a supernatural attack, and that's why it's so impossible, is to imply that it was actually a mind over matter supernatural event. And they said it was these Muslims who were doing it for religious reasons. And I remember thinking that morning, like, wow, I was an atheist at the time. I was like, wow, but what this really shows the power of their mind because of their belief in their God, that with box cutters or whatever, they were able to take over these planes and fly them into these buildings, ending their lives in this major success for them.
Well, it was the power of God magically making 2 airplanes somehow take down 2 buildings while also simultaneously unscathed, his passport surviving the entire explosion with 0 flames landing on the ground to be recovered, right? That's the power of God, a miracle.
Yeah, but it's even crazy because you watch my interview with Jason Burmis where we get into the art students stuff, man. Because
that was epic.
It's an art group. They had the art students there, and they had them shut off the power and the floors where they were setting up the explosives for like in the core. That was like probably the last area that they did. And the months before, they had this gelatin art group do this whole like crazy, a bunch of these art projects where one where they had all the lights shut off on different floors, you know, so most of those floors were actually unoccupied. It was like open space, you know, these guys could just go in there and walk around and stuff. So and they had these people in there setting I believe a lot of those people were proximity actors set up to later so they could be blamed as potential perpetrators. You know what I mean? That they had no idea of the plan that was going down, and that they were, you know, put in that position and made to do a bunch of weird stuff. And it's what's really weird is the connection that Jason pointed out between the art students and the group of art students in that building and this guy Nico Hopt, who later would be connected to Judy Wood and that whole disinfo operation.
Right. And like I brought up the fact that it was literally like he filmed videos of what seemed like MK Ultra being put onto him, of like being freaking taped in his underwear to stuff. Like it's wild.
Yeah,
absolutely wild.
Hopt, real interesting guy. He was the most unhinged guy ever in the 9/11 truth movement. And really, this is a picture of him. And he's connected to this gelatin art group, but he also like is doing weird stuff on this video. Yeah, that's so bizarre, man. It's just, I think that connection just ties it in, because these are the guys that covered up with the no plane theory. He was out there saying plane, no plane, plane, no plane, you know, like harassing all the people at Ground Zero about the theories about 9/11, where he would
that rings a bell. I remember somebody saying that.
Yeah, man, they really infiltrated the 9/11 truth movement with a lot of like crazy talk and disinformation and stuff, and these people are connected to it. And I think that whole that art group was there as a distraction, man. It's there as like it's there the same as the 5 dancing Israelis again, who didn't have security access to the buildings. You know, you have to look into QM and Kuwaiti American Corporation, who Bernard Kerik worked for. I believe, or had some kind of, I believe he had a tie to Kuwaiti American Corporation, which is this spooky connection group that was the founding company for the subgroup Stratosec, which Securicom ran the World Trade Center security company.
So you're an absolutely those were the hijacked planes remote controlled or whatever, and no chance that those were supposedly landed in loose change final cut, something about they were landed NASA bases. They say that a plane, if it hit the building, it would have disintegrated. They show a rocket being flown into concrete, and then there's the
potentially, but
yeah, I think the whole idea that Flight 93 landed at Cleveland Airport, right, and was deboarded and evacuated and stuff. I heard. Try to dig into that, man. It's such a weird rabbit hole getting into the. You know, I know that it was in the Operation Northwoods document that they could do a drone swap, right?
But I thought Flight 93 was shot down by the Happy Hooligans. No.
93 could have been shot down by the things, but so what it comes down to, though, is that the 9/11 truth movement, they infiltrated with so many far out conspiracies to detract from the most simplest possibilities and reasons, right? It's how it always works. The loot with mud.
You know the simple reason. I like going into the maybe of the no plane thing, just because there's the thing like the nose cone looks like it comes out the other side.
Yeah, it could have been cruise missiles with that holographic like laser technology projecting. Could have been, but it's also just as likely it was planes. Who knows?
The government lied 3 times and changed its story. All the NORAD commanders, the people in charge of the Air Force and our air response, lied and then told a conflicting story for the last time that the explanation for why they didn't intercept, why they couldn't.
Your explanation for how it looks like the nose cone comes out, and so there's like at least 2 clips where you can see what looks like the nose cone coming out the other side when the second.
They could have reinforced the plane too, right? Who knows, right? Like, it's
I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
It's not important, bro. It's not important. It's irrelevant.
Exactly.
It's not going to get arrests. We're dealing with Kash Patel rubbing elbows and being best friends with literally the guy who said there was no explosives used in the World Trade Center as New York City Police Commissioner. That's covering up the official investigation of 9/11. That is a key piece of 9/11. You know, whether they used drones or swapped it at Stewart Air Force Base, where both planes crossed at almost the exact same time, which is really another weird coincidence too, that they crossed right over Stewart Air Force Base and at the exact same time. Whether they had pods and whether they, I don't think they needed pods for one. Aiden Monahan totally destroyed the pod theory for me when he showed me like the real technology, that the Boeing uninterruptible hijack autopilot system, where they just upload a bunch of autopilot commands and this thing locks out the cockpit control and does override, and they can fly.
Exactly. That's the main technology that comes down to. The thermite was all that's needed, the access from the shafts. Like that right there is the main core of it, and everything else is a potential distraction and detraction from these actual main facts, right? Like
I've been through all of it. I've been through all of it. The gelatin art group that gets brought up. It was Israel. It was, the 5 dancing Israelis, and it's all bullshit, dude. It's all like, that's all a cover story for Securicom Stratosec. These guys, Wirt Walker and Barry McDaniel. Barry McDaniel worked for Frank Carlucci at BDM International Corporation, and they were also worked at BDM International with Albert Stubblebean, and Albert Stubblebean also worked for SAIC and was also involved with Hal Puthoff and this whole Albert Stubblebean, and he worked at Hal Puthoff on the whole Menosteric Goats project back in the 70s and stuff. And then he comes out saying that there's those photos of the Pentagon, that hole could not fit that plane, and there was no way it was a plane, and it was no way the planes hit that hole in the Pentagon. And I'm an expert on this. There was no planes.
Well, so that one aspect, I would propose that
he's a psyops guy. He's deliberate fucking. This guy is like deep.
Deep actually, no. If it's remote controlled, then it doesn't matter. If it's remote controlled, then it can, right? It's programmed in, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? But it was under construction. That area was under construction. There's no video of the most secure building ever being hit by this stuff. So it's like, clearly whatever happened, it was an inside job, and that's all it needs to be. And Stubblebeam's most likely just like another Lou Elizondo, right? Like just placed there to distract and detract.
He's placed there to distract. He comes out of the group in the woodwork to do psychic warfare. He's interested in doing psychic warfare, psychological warfare, and this kind of stuff. And then he comes out the same, like this guy Morgan Reynolds, who was a Bush insider, said, "Oh, I'm going against the Bush administration now. I can't possibly be part of this." And it was an inside job, and there were no planes used, and it was clearly the holes don't fit. It was different. No big Boeings crashed into the World Trade Center, and they changed the story up so that they hijack the narrative, and then they change it slightly and insert the disinformation. And they come from high-ranking positions, and these guys formed this group called Patriots for 9/11 Truth, and they detracted from a lot of the real whistleblowers. They were coming out with real information. And then this other woman, Barbara Honegger, who, she came into the whole, came out with way back in the day with this whole, in 1987, she began leaking information to journalists about the Reagan administration, right? About this whole Iran-Contra thing. And then it turns out that she was a disinformation agent who was, basically hired to spread disinformation about the Iran-Contra thing. And then she kind of disappeared for a while. And then she came forward again after 9/11 and was like, "I'm a Pentagon insider and I have information," and spread a whole bunch of disinformation about, the pilot of the planes, being involved in this whole project. She spread a whole bunch of disinformation about Charles Burlingame and also the missile hit the Pentagon theory. And
so it is just all to detract, and it's like
coordinated operation of these
Yep, yep.
Pentagon insiders and Pentagon inside people, and I know exactly who they are. I name them who've come out with a full frontal assault on.
I feel what you're saying with that. So it's like the only real 9/11 truth movement that survived throughout it and legit is AE Architects and Engineers for 9/11.
The truth, but there's also the whistleblowers. The 9/11 Whistleblowers Project, which is like, Kevin Ryan was a 9/11 whistleblower from Underwriters Laboratories. And then J. Michael Springman, who worked at the Saudi Arabian embassy in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and was told by his superior to grant visas. He said he denied the visas for the hijackers, and then superior came in and was like, "No, you're going to give these guys their friggin' visas."
Overruled, right? Like,
overruled. You're giving them their visas, and they're
like, why is that person not been charged for treason? Like, that's straight up treason.
Because that person was John Brennan.
Okay, well, there we go.
That will explain a lot, right?
That would be why you have your hunting attire on.
Yes, because these people did 9/11. John Brennan, former director of the CIA, worked in the position at the Saudi Arabian embassy that was formerly held by George Tenet the years before. And George Tenet set a lot of this stuff up, of course, handed the reins over to John Brennan, who then signed off on all this stuff and being the real, dumbass fall guy for Tenet. Really, Tenet set Brennan up to do a lot of this. If you really what I think is it really went on with the whole operation, because Brennan working at the Jeddah Saudi Arabia embassy, giving the hijackers their passports, and then I go into a lot of this too in my this presentation here.
So I just quickly want to say, like, we entertained squirrel nuts there or whatever, but
these little squirrels.
He said there was actual clips of like CNN playing the towers collapsing, but then he said it was just like coffee or something in it. We're gonna have to look at that video, but seems like he potentially could have just been another distraction coming in to try to muddy the waters. And that
I worry about everyone, and again, you're not using your real name and you don't know who people are, and
right, and the whole skull thing over the smoke, like that easily could have been just an early version of AI video put onto some of the CNN videos, right? Like, or the mainstream videos, whatever, right? Like
manipulation.
But it just sounds super schizo, and then people go into those rabbit holes, this and that. And it's like, no, what matters is what Jeremy has literally been documenting since the beginning. The simplest explanations. It was remote controlled plane takeovers. It was the nanothermite slicing from the freaking elevator shafts. And
look into the people who became director of the CIA afterwards and really trace back their steps. I mean, the John Brennan connection is huge. The Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld connection is huge because, these guys are all about regulatory agency capture. That's basically what they specialize in politics is, taking over the regulatory agency so that, artificial sweetener could win FDA approval with aspartame as, coming from a board member of Pfizer, where he worked for GD Searle Incorporated, into getting Pfizer, big pharma, and government to make these approvals of these very dangerous chemicals that are now in our food, was all set up and facilitated through these people. And again, the connections that they have to Citibank and Halliburton, which was Solomon Smith Barney, that was the main tenant inside World Trade Center Building 7. And these guys set up this whole Armageddon plan. They were in charge of the command center on 9/11. They should have been managing the response to an unpredictable attack from an unknown attacker. And Donald Rumsfeld leaves his post on 9/11 and goes on the Pentagon lawn to go help clean up bodies and destroy evidence. Apparently, what were you doing? You left your post.
All right. Again, breaking full protocol during an attack. Full protocol
You
while
didn't. You
attacked.
should have known you're under attack. Like, how do you
Like,
not
how
know?
many meetings have you documented that these people were in ahead of this for like a decade on continuation of government procedures and all of
Yeah,
that stuff, and then they're literally doing the exact opposite to be in front of the cameras while under attack?
doing photo ops, right? The same thing with Rudy Giuliani and Bernard Kerik. Instead of going to their command center, their post at the OEM office in Building 7, they're parading around New York City for the cameras. And then Giuliani, of course, launches his run for the president. He was trying to get the office running on 9/11. I think remember when they made fun of it on Family Guy?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was freaking Lois just saying all she did was go on the camera and say 9/11, and people were like, "Yeah, let's
Right.
vote for her."
Right.
It was
Exactly.
that easy. It was that stupid. The propaganda. It was literally that's what they were running on people. They were that dumb. A lot of people ate it up. But yeah, these key whistleblowers that can point out Bremer and Brennan and George Tenet will be Susan Lindauer, Sibel Edmonds, and Michael Springman. If they could testify and get a hearing, man, it would be over for a lot of this stuff. And also what Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer can testify about Able Danger, and that he briefed Philip Zelikow on Able Danger, and that Philip Zelikow never included it in the 9/11 investigation or the report. So that is also key because
And
that means
what's his name that went on to Tucker Carlson there?
Zelikow can be tried with the cover up. Yeah, Kurt Weldon
Kurt
on
Weldon, yes.
Carlson. Yeah. Yep. So all this stuff needs to come out. It should come out. Ben Sliney could be immediately arrested. He was the Wall Street lawyer who was appointed FAA director just before 9/11, like the day before 9/11. He gets appointed in charge of the FAA, and then he has no experience, fucks up, and then quits his job the next day. And no one can explain, why this guy was put in charge, or all this incompetence.
Right?
There's glaring, people that can be arrested right now all over the 9/11 case, and a trial that can be immediately opened on all the people that lied. Hugh Shelton, Mike Canavan, Ralph Eberhardt, and Richard Armitage. All of them can be arrested immediately for lying under oath about what really happened to the air defense and the air defense failures, and why.
And many for treason, like Brennan demanding that the terrorist
literally.
hijackers get their freaking passports approved, right? Or visas.
And it came out with Kurt Weldon said that the CIA hijackers were on CIA payroll, and that's all set up through this same organization too, which Brennan was part of. Again, the guy that covered up the Hunter Biden laptop because they needed Biden in there because Biden was the cover up guy for 9/11. He's involved with he was meeting with the director of the ISI there about all this stuff. So he has inside knowledge of 9/11. Biden, believe it or not, there's a connection there. Luke Rudkowski confronted him about it back in the day. And so there's that whole connection. So Biden was their man in the office. Of course, he was the guy behind. Biden was totally behind Barack Obama's presidency, and Barack was definitely on board with the whole CIA and their cover up of
Barack Obama them, given a Nobel Peace Prize before in office, only to then lead America into more invasions of countries than any other president in history.
Yeah. It's crazy, Barack Obama and his connections to the CIA, but he's not deeply connected to, he's not an insider. He's just like brought in as like a spokesman. He's a well-spoken, well-presented black man who they needed to really distract Americans about the issues and get us in a debate about whether it's okay, whether a man is a woman or not, rather than real issues that matter in our country. So there's been nonsense for the last several years. Really, a lot of distractions, a lot of cultural depreciation and destruction, a lot of laws that have been passed and really enforced to really destroy American freedoms. And a lot of that started with 9/11 and the whole USA Patriot Act. And again, that paved the way for these corporations. Leidos, again, SAIC which turned into is now Leidos Corporation. Anytime you go to the airport, you see these Leidos people scanners at all the airports, right? SAIC is Leidos. SAIC developed all the technology under CIA contract to scan people. This was all the terahertz wave technology for, subcutaneous skin. It's also in higher voltage, different versions. This is the crowd control technology that can burn you through the clothes
I
and all
was
this stuff.
unaware of that aspect.
SAIC developed all of this, and you know what? They needed a way to market and sell this technology. They've sold tons of these people scanners to TSA after 9/11. Now TSA is required to scan everyone. You have a huge wait time at the airport to have everyone in line pass through this damn machine and get scanned. They get biometric data on you, and all kinds of other stuff they can get from this. So there's this whole CIA operation run right there at the source, and they needed to get this in the airports and passed and approved for the airport approval. So that's why they needed the planes on 9/11. It was an essential part of the whole operation, essential part of the whole infrastructure deal, because without the planes, you don't get the airport security measures, which airport security measures they were set to. That's a huge billion-dollar industry that all these guys immediately made a ton of money on, because SAIC
positions.
Stratosec Securicom had all this background information and knowledge on this whole setup, right? And then where does Barry W. McDaniel, the COO, the corporate operating officer for the World Trade Center security company that managed all the security in the World Trade Center, Marvin Bush was a board of directors on this company, right? Where does Barry McDaniel work now? Oh, he's a vice president, division manager at Leidos.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence, man. And these are the people they don't want you talking about. They don't want you mentioning. They don't want you talking about the ACE elevator remodernizations or the fireproofing upgrades that were done from 1997.
Right. Upgraded to prevent this from happening, only to weaken the structures and make it happen.
Yeah, something going on there. And then the people that worked inside the buildings that have all these suspicious connections to this deep state that would later go and take over in Iraq and send people to Iraq, and also get just billions of dollars in contracts for the secret space program and the whole military industrial complex with Kellogg, Brown and Root, Lockheed Martin. I mean, all these companies got tons of money once we were going to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, who you think? This is all money flowing in for business as usual for those guys. I'm sure they were not on the list of people questioning 9/11 and saying we need an investigation into any of this, right? Not at all. AMEC Corporation immediately doing the refurbishment of the Pentagon wing. Surprisingly, none of their employees were working that day or in the work zones.
And why are those firefighters like down on the ground looking like they're like hiding from new explosions? And then the random person sitting on the barricade like nothing's going on. Like, that's
he's got a bullhorn, or is that just blacked out? I don't know. Wait, he's just got his face blacked out, so it can't be identified.
Right.
Yeah, that is really weird and bizarre. But
right?
AMEC Corporation, you can see the sign right here on the corner of the trailer. This is the trailer with the fence out, the perimeter fence outside the work zone. They were doing a $258 million refurbishment in that wing of the Pentagon. And there's a sign that if you blow it up, it says AMEC. You can look at the sign right there. And AMEC got the contract. They were right in ground zero the next day at New York City, cleaning up and destroying evidence. In fact, World Trade Center 7 was the first to be removed. They removed
coincidence, right?
Yeah, coincidence. And AMEC is right there removing the debris. AMEC is owned by a close friend of Peter Jansen, a close friend of Donald Rumsfeld, business associate, former business ally. And this Pentagon plane strikes the exact wing they're doing this refurbishment on, totally misses the wing where the Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz are hanging out in, even though it flew literally around that wing. If you look at the approach pattern for the plane that hit the Pentagon, they could have just dive bombed it and killed Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz if they had been hell-bent on doing so and had any geographical knowledge of the Pentagon, which supposedly the hijackers did. They found maps of all this stuff, and that's all in the evidence. list. But the Pentagon's comptroller, who lowered the Infocon level right before the attacks, was a guy named Dov Zakheim, who's famous for authoring the line in the PNAC document, Rebuilding America's Defenses, where he says further the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. Basically saying we need a new Pearl Harbor to wake up America to this new 100-year plan of the new
occupying the Middle East,
control those oil reserves, everything that was outlined in a lot of the pre-war invasion strategy, the Iraq War preemptive invasion plan, which was actually written by a guy named Philip Zelikow, a good friend of Dov Zakheim's. So Philip Zelikow, of course, gets placed in charge of the 9/11 Commission, replacing Henry Kissinger, who's again was too deep state and knew his connections to the Carlyle group and the Bin Laden group were much too blatant to be put out there like that. They needed another guy, they needed to put Philip in there. He was just, it was not going to be good for Kissinger once those kind of connections got out and anyone did a real detailed forensic analysis and investigation of that. Although somehow they managed to cover all this up. Systems Planning Corporation, who Dov Zakheim was the CEO of the Systems Planning Corporation. SPC had a division called Tridata Corporation, which wrote the engineering report for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. So they had all the access to the blueprints and knew of all the engineering, how much damage that bomb did, which key structural components it took out, and what key structural components and what size bomb they'd need to use the next time in order to really take things.
Right? Oh man,
literally people that got control of all that. That blows your mind right there when you say, oh my God, the guy who's in charge of the Pentagon lowers the Infocon level and is, right there with Donald Rumsfeld.
The one that was studying how to reinforce it, and then they just somehow made it weaker for the next time. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
It was just treason charge or corruption charge at the very least.
Very least, it should be investigated. And then SBC is, of course, linked to all this. They have a radar physics group who's working on this, GPS guidance systems for aircraft technology, the way to control
the exact way to control the airplanes to make those moves, the actual adjustments to crash into the plane or the structures that an average pilot couldn't do, but a pre-programmed radio controlled aircraft definitely could, right?
And here's the patent number, you can look it up, and it was a guy in 2001 they granted the patent, or he files the patent. I believe it was granted in 2003, but it was a guy, Philip McKinney. You guys can look that up. That's another interesting connection. These are real rabbit holes. This is real research, unlike a lot of the bullshit that we fucking get out there, man. Max Cleland's dead now, but man, this guy was the first Kurt Weldon going on Wolf Blitzer and blowing up the 9/11 Commission as a total fraud and a for what it was. They didn't even call Barry Jennings to testify.
Real patriots and heroes and whistleblowers.
So many people did not even testify. We don't know what happened to the 9/11 because so many people were turned down. They didn't let them testify. They didn't want it on the record. They didn't want certain testimony or certain information on the record. These guys are dead now, and they've literally covered this all up. And then these are the guys, the spies who lied about, James Clapper and Brennan coming out with the saying that, there's no way this Hunter Biden laptop story is real. This is fake. It's
why aren't they getting charged with treason or at least freaking
no charges, no
arrests?
Kash Patel saying, I'm going to fucking turn the FBI office into a shrine to the deep state. None of it fucking happened. John Deutsch still not arrested. John Deutsch could be immediately arrested for not only drug trafficking and narco trafficking, but also 9/11. you know, George Tenet, of course, all the people that
And where's the Epstein files, right? Like, oh, you supposedly got them all now months ago.
So many people not mentioned. Man, anyways, we've been going 2 hours. I think I'm going to end it here for the night, and we're going to this was
Epic
a great
return,
stream,
my friends.
a lot of epic information is just pouring out like a sieve, and they have Jeremy Corbell with this fake ass new whistleblower to distract us all with. Yeah, I don't know what the guy is blowing the whistle on exactly. Apparently, he saw something that could have been related to aliens, and yeah, it's fucking bullshit, dude. It's more nonsense from the people that don't know.
Right? Just doing the 9/11 muddying the waters all over again with the UFO community and technology. So Lou can go on with Project Blue Beam and right.
Yeah, keep torturing people, Lou. Keep fucking pointing CIA psychotronic and electronic weapons at people's heads and torturing them with this stuff for the CIA. I think you're gonna get away with it with this amnesty thing that you're pushing as a cover with a cover of it being a UFO amnesty operation, bro. The UFO file is much darker. It's all a lot of top secret programs, a lot of top cover-ups of CIA people involved in a lot of disinformation and nonsense, and a lot of gold that was stolen to pay for a lot of black ops that are still covered up to this day, and that you know,
and the trillions of dollars announced the night before of missing funding that's only increased, that's never been accounted for even by Doge today.
Yeah, it's wild what went on with all this. But hey, we're getting to the bottom of it, and keep the idea. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, and the powerful people are still not being named who are connected with him. And then Virginia Giuffre, the victim of Prince Andrew, shows up dead. It's just
now her father coming out and saying that he did not participate in the statement that she committed suicide, and that he does not believe that she committed suicide or was suicidal.
It's not the intelligence community that's corrupted. There's
by design.
There's an elite group that's totally corrupt at the top that run all of it, dude. And they run all of it. And they're not all the people in the intel community that are just doing, you know, my friend in the Marines, my buddy Justin, who does you know, counter intel for East Asia down at friggin' the National Guard base down here. He's not fucking a bad guy. He's not corrupted. He's part of the intel community. It's not
a lot of them just get manipulated, right? And they're carrying out orders not knowing.
Top of the pyramid. It's not all the underlings working underneath. It's the pyramidal control structure, and you got to look at the people who are on top of it, the people who are still on top of it. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, some of these other guys definitely knew Jeffrey Epstein too.
Yeah, they sure have pictures with them.
You know, a lot of these guys, you know, Jeffrey Epstein disappeared on these guys' watch. So,
right.
You know, I just don't know about this whole administration, what we were sold, and with Kash Patel being what he's not delivered on. That's the big thing, is Kash Patel and Bam Bondi need to be fucking fired immediately. People need to be fucking arrested, dude. America is ready for the damn truth. The JFK assassination and all the CIA freaking stooges. Yeah, it all needs to come out, man. We need arrests. And then Jim DiEugenio said today, just tweeted, just today, just before the stream started, that friggin' he thinks Pam Bondi's totally fucked, corrupt. Like, it's done. You know, Luna's at least, you know, trying, even though she's being stonewalled and blocked at a lot of this way, especially with the appointment of Lou Elizondo as the UAP czar. That was terrible. But yeah, we need,
it's all by design. It's all controlled opposition, and
we need help, though. This country needs a big switch. It needs a big punch in the fucking face of some kind. I don't know, man. Something needs to happen. That's why I got my hunting jacket on for anyone that wants to do some deep state hunting. Now would be the time. anyways, thank you all and have a great night.
Stay blessed. Thank you.